Morning and welcome to another edition of my book review podcast, 50 Shelves of Grey Matter, where I take you through the books in my library. This is a September 11 special episode because today is September 11, 2021, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And so I wanted to discuss a few books that I have related to that. The first book that I would have before you is this one by Rohan Gunaratna called Inside Al Qaeda Global Network of Terror. Uh, Rohan Gunaratna has appeared in many 9/11 documentaries. He is a foremost expert on Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. This was written in 2002, right after the 9/11 attacks, and it traces the origins of Al Qaeda through all and how Osama bin Laden, his antecedents, and how he was able to um, uh, build up this terror network. And it has a very detailed history of finance, of the people behind them, and how the 9/11 came to be um, orchestrated. So this is the first book, Inside Al Qaeda by Rohan Gunaratna. The second book is Evidence of Suspicion, a writer's report on the war on terror by Amitava Kumar. This book is by Amitava Kumar on how the war on terror by Bush went wrong and how it led to Islamophobia, racism, and all the rest. So, this is a sort of a critical um, account of the war on terror carried out by the Bush administration. This was written in 2009, and it shows how, in the zeal to arrest terrorists, many innocent people uh, were, victimized in the war on terror. And it's an account of two such people who had nothing to do with terrorism, but the CIA and its counterintelligence unit and anti-terrorism unit manufactured evidence to indict these people. So this is it's an award-winning book by Amitav Kumar, and it has um, been uh, in the literature on war on terror. This has been a very important book. It also won an award, I think, the Pulitzer Award for non-fiction or something, or journalism. But this is another book on the war on terror, 9/11 related. Next, I have a book by the famous Michael Moore, Stupid White Men. And this was written just before 9/11 attacks took place. And in the preface, he mentions the fact that I'll read out to you what it says in the preface. In the introduction. In the introduction, he says that I wrote Stupid White Men in the months preceding September 11, 2001. The first 50,000 copies of it came off the presses on the evening of September 10. Needless to say, those books were not shipped out to bookstores across the nation on the following day as had been scheduled. Now, we all know that Michael Moore is a famous anti-Republican. He is extremely against conservatives. He is a well-known um, kind of critic of George Bush, and even in Trump era he was very active. So this is obviously going to be a very critical account, but it's hilariously written. He is a documentary maker, and it's kind of funny. But it's the most of the material in this has to do with the uh, with the stolen election of George Bush of the election of 2000, which according to Michael Moore is stolen. I'm not too sure about it, and I don't really agree with much of what he says. Um, but still, it's a good read, hilarious read, if one wants to understand American politics. Then another one is this is another one by Michael Moore, which is and this came after 11 September 11 2001. This was in 2005, and this is a book where he talks about how Bush's policies led to September 11. So both of these are extremely critical of George Bush, and kind of blame American foreign policy for what occurred on September 11th. So this is another important work. And the last one I have is John Simpson's News from No Man's Land, reporting the world. John Simpson was a BBC journalist, and he went to Kabul in 2001 to cover the invasion. On 13th November 2001, John Simpson and a BBC News crew walked into Kabul, and the liberation of the Afghan capital was broadcast to a waiting world. It was the end of a sustained campaign against Taliban, a campaign that Simpson had covered from the beginning. And this is so ironic because all we know is that 20 years later, Taliban is back into power after the US pull out. So it's such a timely read to understand more about what is happening. So these are the works, uh, five works that I have covered in this September 11th special episode. Two more works that I would like to mention, which I have, but I haven't been able to find a copy of it. I searched for them. There's one book called DC Confidential by the um, British ambassador to America at the time of September 11. I'm forgetting his name, but he has appeared in many documentaries as well. So that's another book that I have, which unfortunately I couldn't bring before you. And of course, the most important, the 9/11 Commission report, which also I possess, but I don't know where it is. It's misplaced. So these are the five copies that I could find. I hope you liked it. Thank you.